What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. As you can see by the title, and you know by the thumbnail, let's see what black men think about compliance. Um, I uploaded a video not too long ago about the movie American Skin, right? Which is, Nate Parker did his thing on that. Good movie. And I thought about that because of the Capitol incident, right? And they had the Capitol incident in Michigan also yesterday. And the problem with that is, I'm looking and I'm thinking that there's a picture, a video of a white woman who's getting escorted out of a restaurant because she doesn't want to leave, and a black cop he's not really pushing the issue. But a white cop comes in, grabs the lady by the wrist, and then they haul her out. And she has a young girl filming her, right? The police are trying to steal her purse now, right? So here's the thing. As I looked at the movie, one of the themes of it was quote unquote compliance, the Blue Lives Matter thing. And thinking about this scenario where, they hit the cop in the head and so many police officers were there actually breaking the law by storming the Capitol. And it just dawned on me, being at this MLK Day, that brothers don't necessarily have a problem with compliance, but brothers really do have a problem with the people who want compliance have a history of not complying. So is this actually about law and order, or is this Gestapo tactics? And some people look at it like Gestapo. It looks at it like a Fifth Reich, if you will. And the thing about the compliance is these issues should be able to be resolved easily. And I've thought about it in my own, personal life, in my lifetime. A lot of this stuff comes from normally traffic stops. Traffic stops. People having an issue at an event. And I thought about, shout out to Dennis, Mr. Esquire, attorney at law, Dennis Sperling. And he was talking about the pastor that got shot in Killeen because he had a mental breakdown, and his family called the police. Well, they called the mental health services, and because the family was hysterical, they called the police instead of coming to help the guy. And he wound up getting killed. And I keep thinking about it over and over and over again about compliance. Compliance. You want people to comply, but you don't comply. See, it's weird. And the reason I'm saying it's weird is because if anybody, as an adult, you see how this goes. You see people who back the police and who are the police and who are children of the police or relatives of the police, friends of the police. And by their own admission, for the most part, they will break the very traffic laws that cause these stops that we get into altercations and wind up getting into maybe a life-threatening altercation for during traffic stop. But if you have a certain sticker on your car because you gave money to the police force, or if you can, write off a name, this is such and such, I'm cool with such and such, maybe they'll let you with a slap on the wrist. So you don't necessarily have to comply if you're connected. And it becomes a problem when the people that ask you to comply are the very people breaking the very laws that they want you to comply to. So you got adults playing do as I say, not as I do. Now, as black people, we like, listen, man, I'm just trying to get home safe. And it goes to a point where this is, it's beyond, inhumane. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ray. Thank you. I'm in my zone. I apologize. It's beyond that point. You know, the ideas and ideals of racism have metastasized in every form of American society, and compliance is one of them. See, I have to comply. I need to comply. But if you don't look like me, you don't need to comply. Because for some odd reason, compliance is a one race street. You know, now I got to ask the question, like, when you want these people to comply, you want them to comply when they're in your presence. But what happens when they comply in your presence? Why are you pushing the issue? Why can't you de-escalate a situation if you're trying to get home and they're trying to get home? It's because in some ways, when somebody wants a person to comply and they antagonize the person, if they do comply, they don't want compliance. They want confrontation. They want conflict. So when people are asking for compliance, it seems like they're actively participating in creating conflict. And why I brought up the capital thing was it was a slap in the face to the idea of compliance. I don't think most Americans have a problem with okay. What am I'm doing something wrong here? Okay. But see, when I say this metastasized in American culture, this is why you can't drive in certain neighborhoods. This is why you can't go to certain, restaurants or events without somebody having to say you don't belong. This is why when you live in certain neighborhoods, people try to test you in one way or the other because it metastasized in a way that you got quote unquote civilians wanting other civilians to comply. You got neighbors wanting other neighbors to comply. So they'll use the police to get them. You got people driving in traffic, calling the police on people in traffic. Because I don't like that your car is better than mine. I need to figure out a way to make you comply. It's a problem. You got teachers teaching children, and the lesson that they're teaching the children is, hey, if you don't do what I say, you don't comply, I'm going to make this difficult for you. Has nothing to do with your intelligence. It has nothing to do with your grades. But it has everything to do with your grades, because if you've earned an A, I'm going to give you a B until you learn how to comply. If anybody who plays sports, you're good, but I'm going to make sure you comply. Unless you sell so many tickets that I'm stuck with you. I'm stuck with having to put you out on there to entertain the crowd because that puts money in my pocket. But if you have somebody who is challenging of the person that puts money in everybody's pocket, you're going to make that person comply because you don't want them to get the same amount of popularity because you can only deal with one. You can't deal with multiples. So you want people to comply. So the reason why I'm talking about it is because, like I said, let's see what black men think about compliance. Because the very thing that the very go-getter mentality that you want these kids to have and to take over the world and compete, you're forgetting when they're children, when they leave your house, it's not just the police that bully them to want to make them comply. Do what I say. If you don't do what they teachers tell them that. Like I said, they coaches tell them that. Even when these people are, and here's the kicker, even when you're a person who actually is following all the rules properly, even when you're a good person, somebody has to go out of their way to create a situation so they can exude, I bet you you need to comply. And see, you see teenagers get into it with adults because things like this. We all have to explain to our black children that you don't have the same rights in this country as everybody else. Just because these are the rights in the Constitution and these are the laws in your state's law book. These laws and these constitutional rights don't apply to you in various situations. These laws have a color-coded way of execution. This person, that's their law, that's their right. This person, that's not their law, that's not their right. Same exact right. See, you have the right of free speech. No, you don't. You have the right, your Second Amendment right to bear arms. No, you don't. Just because you have free speech does not mean that when you use free speech, you're free. You're looking at a picture of Malcolm. Malcolm had free speech. Martin Luther King had free speech. This is what they try to tell us to comply. Because if I'm saying something you don't like in this country, we have this overarching threat or arcing threat that if a black man says something that you don't like, it's fair game to at least attempt to kill him. His character. To try to take everything he's worked for. Because he doesn't really have freedom of speech. You want him to comply. And if he doesn't comply, we got to figure out a way to destroy this guy. See, that goes back to the Bill Cosby thing. When you get a person, if you see in any circumstance, you have two entertainers in the entertainment industry, and one entertainer says publicly, I'm going to make it my business to put this entertainer in jail for these allegations. And subsequently, somehow there's a politician running in this entertainer's very state who runs on the premise, I'm going to put this person in jail. That's why I'm here. Vote me in so I can put this person in jail. See, all these people colluded and complied with each other. This is what we're going to do. And then you put this person in jail. And here's the kicker. The very same entertainer has a friend that actually raped somebody. And then they washed their hands and walked away from the situation. Because that person actually raped a black woman. So she needs to comply. So this is, what do black men think about compliance? Sometimes it's a crock of BS. See, nobody has a problem following the laws and the rules and regulations. And if you in a moment where you might be breaking the law inadvertently, hey, okay, I'll take responsibility for that. But see, a lot of people can't put two and two together when it comes to this aspect of, when I talked earlier about the people at the Capitol, they had less fear storming the Capitol than a black person has getting pulled over by a traffic stop. That shouldn't be even in the same ballpark. If if I get pulled over, I'll probably be more afraid for my life than all of those people who rushed the Capitol. The lady that got shot, she had no fear of being shot because deep down they didn't think they were gonna get shot. You could tell by the way they acted because it was like shocked, like, oh, wow, I can't believe you're shooting us. What are you doing? So this compliance issue has become an interesting topic for me today. Because one of the other things about compliance that people seem to skip over is, as a black man in my 41 years in America, I have watched America very closely when it comes to what you do to me, you don't do to other people. You see, you forget other people of other races break laws in front of us. Other people of other races commit crimes in front of us. Other people of other races, we just happen to be witnesses to their shenanigans and debacles. But somehow, just like that, it's not a big deal. See, you can have a fight at a nightclub. As a black person, people are probably going to get arrested. You can have a fight at a nightclub, a bunch of white people probably not going to get arrested. That's a problem. You can have gang activity if you're black, and that's a problem. You're the bad guys. You're gangsters. But you can literally infiltrate the police department and the FBI and be in the military by being in knowingly being a white supremacist group that has terroristic activities. They don't have to comply. See, when I was watching that movie, shout out to American Skin, shout out to Nate Parker. The best part of that movie for me, they killed the man's son. Of course, we all know how it goes in real life. It's a very realistic movie. Of course, they go to trial. Nothing was done. Then the city riots. And then the black police captain goes to the mother's house and tells her, you need to get on TV and tell people that we just want peace. And ironically, the way he left her house so abruptly, like it was going to be done after all the disrespect that was going on within the house. Because if you want to think about this, if you want to if somebody came to your house to talk to you about something that was, let's say, traumatic, if they came with a group of friends and they sit in your house next to you and they keep the door wide open of your house because they need to see what's going on in your house and they want to have semi-control over your house, and then they say, we'll be back in an hour to do what you will be back in an hour and you do what we just told you to do. You're going to have a problem with that. Big problem with that. And the problem gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And like I said, and then when that same black police officer knows his own officers are wrong, he doesn't say anything. But when a person who's not an officer is wrong, he gets up on the pulpit. Brothers, you need to stop this. You need to do that. This is so wrong. This is so bad. And it's like, oh, okay. I get it. So at the end of the day, we need to have a conversation about what actually is compliance in America. What actually is compliance in this country? Because truth be told, if you want to restrict my movement, then that's not compliance. If you want to make sure I don't reach my full potential, that's not compliance. You know, that is not compliance whatsoever. If you want to make sure that I stay in my place, that's not compliance. And if you go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning and you find it your daily part of your daily routine to feed into a society that makes sure I do what you say I need to do, that ain't compliance. See, the hypocrisy lies in the fact that Black people know this for sure. Native Americans know this for sure also. Freedom as an American concept is only for white people. Everybody else does not have freedom in America. So let's be honest about the compliance you're asking for. You're asking people to make sure that they'll never be free. Not free to do anything illegal, immoral, unethical, but just freedom to be people. It's this constant, I need you to do what I need you to do when I need you to do it. It's so funny because you get groups, as a Black man, you get groups who aren't white and aren't Black who feed into, I need to make sure that you comply. And the funny part about that I find interesting, you'll get the My Brother Brigade when other people are on their heads to comply. My brother, we go through the same. I don't want to hear it. I really don't. So at the end of the day, what exactly do you want these people to do? Because we're in a situation where there are times when you don't see. Let me say this. I've been on YouTube for years, and there are videos you a lot of you have never seen, right? I did a video 5-6 years ago about USC. So USC, there was a graduation, right? And the graduates had a party. And the white people were in one building, an apartment complex, and across the street, across the street, 2 blocks over. But basically, you could walk to both places, and you can see both places very clearly. There was a apartment complex where the Black graduates threw their party. So just a bunch of people throwing house parties. What happened was they called the police on the Black graduates, and they had helicopters out there circling the joint and bringing the cop cars. So what the Black partiers did in that apartment complex, they ran to the apartment complex with all the white people partying for their graduation, and they were just watching from afar. And the white people were filming and the Black people were filming. They're like, wait a minute. And they were asking, like, what are y'all doing over there? What happened over there? And it's like, we was partying. Like us? Yeah. We graduated. Y'all graduated. We was partying. So they were getting freaked out. Like, you mean to tell me y'all got the police called on y'all for a graduation party with the helicopters out and, you know, and the cop cars and the surrounding the building? Yeah. Same university, same graduation class. Some people, same major, same degree. But when one person does something, they need to comply. See, you try to ruin people's moment. And I'm sure, like, if you look that up, that video is probably still on YouTube somewhere. Not, and I'm not just talking about my video. I'm talking about the video I was watching to talk about that. That video is probably still up on there. USC party gets helicopter called on it, something like that. It was a long time ago. Because they were watching it from across the street. They were watching it through the windows. And people don't ask this question about compliance. They don't ask that question. Like, man, bro, what's going on? Like, what's going on with this? Is it that serious? Yeah, it's that serious. See, people have this assumption. I remember going to a friend of mine's house. He had a Super Bowl party. And of course, like clockwork, called the police. Noise ordinance. Here's the problem, though. If anybody watches football, they know one thing has happened in the Super Bowl in the last like 5 to 10 years. They start the Super Bowl early, so the Super Bowl ends like before 10 o'clock. You see the problem? Calling the noise ordinance, most football games end before 10 o'clock. So guess when the police show up to your house, when you throw on a football part, a Super Bowl party, they only do that to certain type of people like that. That only happens to a certain demographic of people. And what I mean by that, that's the part of the compliance thing. See, other people can throw parties and not have that problem. Because people say, oh, it's a party. This is not going to go on every day of the week, every night of the week. This is just a party today, Super Bowl. Oh, you having a Christmas party? Oh, not a big deal. I remember years ago, I had an apartment when I was living in apartments. I had a sister live next, a black woman. She was living next door to me. And when I would get home from work, I don't cut on the TV. I cut on the radio. So I would cut on the radio, and she would bang on the walls. Now the first assumption is, man, how loud was you playing the music? Not that loud. So she banged on the walls, and I would lower it, lower it, lower it, and it didn't matter how low it went. It was to the point where she would bang on the walls, and I can tell because you would have to, I cut it so low that you could have to put your ear on the wall to hear my music. Because I wanted to see myself. So what I would do is I would cut the music on, go outside my apartment, and I couldn't hear it. So I put my ears on the doors and on the wall and be like, no, I can't hear it. So here's the problem. She called the police numerous times. And the issue was about the compliance was ironic because the police came about 3 or 4 times, and about the 3rd or 4th time, the same cop came. And they bang, they knock on the door all the time. And the guy was like, we didn't came here. This is my 2nd time coming here, and the music ain't been loud not once. And what happened was the young lady came out one day. She's like, I'm going to get you kicked out of here. That was her goal. So she was using the police to do it. So ironically, the management came up to my apartment at the time. And I said, look, man, it really doesn't matter what I do, because if I cut on the music anyway, she's just going to complain, because she already told me she's going to get me kicked out because y'all done already talked. And the manager was like, wait, what? They didn't realize that it was her goal, because when management came up to my apartment, it wasn't loud, because all of these things were out of the blue, like, you know, but it's a compliance thing. Now, I'm saying, you know, that's just a minor story, right? You know, there's anybody who's ever been at in a speed trap. You notice if you get pulled over in a speed trap, if you're a black dude, you notice this a lot, that they immediately have their hands on their gun. You know, how can I say this properly? I've been pulled out of a car in work uniform and asked, was I a drug dealer? Right after I got off of work. See, this is what I mean by the compliance part. It's hard to comply when you make up things. You know, have you dealt in drugs? Are you in a gang? No. Can we search your car? No, you cannot. I just answered no to all your questions. So why would you search? Why would you want to search my car after that? You should comply. We're going to get the dogs out here. You get the dogs out here then. But I mean, okay. See, one of the issues we have with this, and I appreciated the movie, because there's an inherent belief that we're the bad guys in America. So that's why compliance is such a hard thing in America, because for black people, because you want me to comply with being the bad guy, because in your mind, I'm a bad guy to you. You know, that's the problem. I can comply to the laws, the rules, the regulations, but I can't comply to being your fictitious bad guy. That I cannot do. Thank you, fam. But it's a compliance thing, right? Like, I just had to get I talked about it on the last live, but where I was walking in the neighborhood, in my neighborhood, and I was looking at houses for sale or whatever for a friend of mine. I was taking pictures of the houses for sale, and some Middle Eastern dude drove by filming me taking pictures of the for sale signs. You know, and I'm sure that fool probably called the police. And I'm sure that, you know what? The police were like, what? A person walking in the neighborhood, okay? And you know how he's a black male. And I was walking with my girlfriend, so he's a black man with a black woman. And the cops would be like, a black man with a black woman walking in the neighborhood, they're not finna break into a house, buddy. But if it was just black male, they would have considered it, because I'm the bad guy. But this is where I'm going with this. I had to get a security system, a newer one, put in, because there was a kid or a young man, they don't know, trying to throw rocks through my window to get into my house. But one of my neighbors saw it, and she's like, what the feezy? And that person just went off their merry way, like, okay. Not understanding that, you know, I have an alarm system, so if you came in, you know, it was gonna go off, you was gonna get caught, blah, 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 blah. I don't trip on that. But if I'm home, you're gonna get shot. And see, this is the part about what people don't talk to you about compliance. Because what happens is, my bad, if you impede on my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and I have to put you down, you don't want me to do that, because I need to comply and give you the benefit of the doubt because you aren't black. See, I'm supposed to have the black on black crime bias and ideology that I'll just shoot a black person who tries to break into my house. I wouldn't shoot a white person or a Hispanic person or an Asian person or an Arab person because they're inherently good people. This is why I brought up the cop, the black cop who didn't really just yank the lady up out of the restaurant earlier, but the white cop did. Because you got to comply. You know, even a black cop understands race relations with I'll get fired. Y'all saw the black woman who got fired for punching a lady at the rally? It's funny how a security guard can get fired for keeping order doing security by using force. It's funny how that works. It's real funny how that works. Or do y'all remember the story of the black man who got, I think he got killed when he was working in the Holocaust Museum? Remember him? But if he was in a Black History Museum, just let him tear it up. Don't fight with your life. There's no reason to get into a shootout with these type of people. See, it's not just compliance with the law, it's compliance with letting people get away with crime. See, you want black men to comply with you being able to be a criminal. The whole drug dealer mantra and ideology. These black men are drug dealers and they break into people's houses. You know what's the funny part about living in the suburbs? The suburbs have more house break-ins than the hood ever did. And normally, guess who it is? White on white crime. White on Hispanic on, Hispanic on white crime. That's normally the two groups that do it. You're so busy watching black folks, you don't get by the part where, hey, what are these people doing? Oh, I'm working in the house, I'm working in the yard. Nobody takes into consideration that when you see white people walking on stuff or walking in somebody's house and yard, you just assume that they're supposed to be there. When you see white people pull up with a truck and they're going in and out of a house, you just assume that they're doing the job and they're supposed to be there. When you see Hispanic people going to the house, you just assume that they're supposed to be, or they're probably doing the yard work or this, that. See, a lot of these crimes we talk about, but when black people show up, you're not supposed to be there. Thus, they had, what was that, a year and a half ago, when a brother was moving in to his apartment complex, condo town, whatever it was, he was moving in and they called the cops on him while he was moving his furniture into his apartment. Thus, the Botham John situation, getting shot by the cop in his own house. What are you doing eating ice cream in your apartment? It's supposed to be my apartment. Bang, bang. Compliance. See, we also have to comply with people not having common sense. And that was one of the things that struck me when I was watching the movie. When the cop's like, hey, well, I didn't know if the 14-year-old could have been armed. Why would a 14-year-old have a gun? How many 14-year-olds carry guns? Especially 14-year-olds with their father. Oh, I'm with my son. We're going home, but he's 14 and he's black and you're black. He probably has a pistol on him. He's probably been listening to Lil Baby or the Baby, and he's got to have a gun on him. Interesting. And here's the ironic part about this whole gun issue. The same people who talk about it's your right to have a gun are the same people who, for some odd reason, lose their minds if you actually have a gun. See, when I'm talking about compliance, when you see white people walking to restaurants with guns on them, people just act like that's okay. Guy got a holster. He's walking in a Walmart with a gun. Why? Like I said, I remember last year when I went to Vegas. Was it last year or the year before? Whatever it was. When I went to Vegas, I went to the In-N-Out Burger off of, was that Blue Diamond? Dude just walks in the In-N-Out Burger, gun on him. Like, why are you in here buying burgers with a pistol? Why? Really no reason. Because people say I got to protect myself. See, the compliance is I'm not supposed to protect myself. See, I got pulled over at a speed trap. That's why I was talking about speed traps earlier. Going from Louisiana to Texas. If you go from Louisiana, you know you're gonna get you might get pulled over in Vidor, or you might get pulled over in Lake Charles by that bridge, or you might get pulled over on your way to Lafayette because the bridge changes because the bridge has two different speed limits on each side. You know, yeah. Thank you. Exactly. Known shooter walking in the public with a gun. I don't know. Jimmy, why are you walking with that gun? Oh my God. Oh, I'm going to get to that too. Thank you for that, Darren. But here's the story. So I get pulled over at the speed trap. The guy's like, redneck guy laughing. I'm sitting there. My son's in the car. He's like, he's a kid. He's in the backseat, car seat. So the cop, being redneck season, what are you doing? Driving? Did you know you were speeding? No, because the speed limit was 60. Well, it's 55. So I look, and I like when you get if you're going from Texas to Louisiana, when you cross that bridge is 60. When you're going from Louisiana to Texas, when you cross that bridge is 55. Same exact bridge. What's up, kid? So the guy says, I give him my license, but I give him my gun license too. He's like, do you have it on you? Like, yeah. He's like, where? I was like, I ain't telling you. Why? Because if I tell you and I reach for it, I can see in your eyes you trying to shoot me. And my son is sitting in the back seat. He's like, that time he was 4. And I can see it in his eyes. He really wanted to do it. But we kind of had the conversation in the sense of, oh man, I'm faster than you. So can you just give me the ticket? Because if you pull out, I'm faster than you. And I got my ticket. I went on my way. But he wanted me to comply. But the only thing that stopped him from trying to pull out that gun is he realized I got one too, and I might pull it out too. And it was a shame that was the case. See, I had the same issue going to work on another occasion. Got pulled over by a Mexican guy. Work uniform, dropped my kid off to daycare. He pulls me over, gun out. I almost shot you. Why? You didn't blink. You didn't hit your turn signal. So that's what you almost shot me for? Turn signal? Seriously? And he just, and I'm thinking to myself, the guy's like morbidly obese and he's a cop. So I'm like, oh, okay, you just looking for some action. Now, the reason I bring it up, part of what Darren was talking about is, you want me to stay in my place, right? Here's the issue. When you see when they was having all these school shootings, these people didn't ever look at these guys as a problem. They never looked at, maybe these shooters are an issue. But I'm going to tell you what they did to the schools in the suburbs. You buzz your way in now. So the same way the schools are quote unquote in the hood, the same way the schools in the hood are, they used to say it's like a prison because you had to get, what is it? You had to get patted down and you had to go through a metal detector, Well, they're low-key doing that now. And see, I went to one of them high schools that we had to get patted down and go through the metal detector. When you in the wintertime, they cut the AC on, and in the summertime, they cut the heat on if you go to summer school. I went to one of them type of schools. So when they say they're preparing you for prison, that's kind of what they mean. Because they like mess with you. But here's the thing. They're not telling you when you go to these schools now, they do you like the Ring doorbell. You buzz, they got to get a picture of ID of you, and then they let you in. And the students, you got to get checked, buddy, because y'all been acting awry in the suburbs. So you don't have this problem in the quote unquote inner city, because once again, you were told to comply in the inner city, but you wasn't told to comply in the suburbs. See, you weren't told to comply in the what do you call those? In the more affluent neighborhoods. See, a lot of y'all don't realize they have conversations. See, you can't drag race. Nobody can tell you can't drag race in the hood. You understand what I'm saying? If you go around driving crazy and speed like that, you can't drag race in the hood. You're gonna immediately get pulled over, yanked out of the car. You're a danger to society. They're gonna pull them guns out on you. But you know where you can drag race? The suburbs. You know why? Because a lot of cops drag race. So they tell the people who drag race where to go, when to go. And that's how they know, oh, okay, between these hours and these hours, hey man, you know what I'm saying? And these are crime hours, by the way. So if drag racing is a crime and it goes on from say 11 to 3 a.m., it's not a big deal. Everybody knows what's going on. The police know, the drag racers know. And then people have scanners and, you know, and in tune, they got the, yeah, we're going to go over here, blah, 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 blah. You get on the freeway, you get on the interstate, you do what you do. They don't have to comply. Now, are there people who get caught? Absolutely. Because that's like a $10,000 ticket. So the ticket itself is worth all the organization. But these guys are making big bets out here. See, you're racing and you're gambling. It's okay, cuz. Let's be honest about it. Drag racers don't look like us. Kid, I got you, fam. Hold up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. What's up?
What's happening, man? What you got to say, fam?
Yeah, I like this compliance thing you got. I like this topic because black folks, we like to buck the system a little bit.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on. Cause something up my headphones. Okay, say that again.
I said I like this compliance topic that you're doing because as black folks, we like to sit there and buck the system a little bit.
That's part of the issue.
Yeah,
You
I mean
know.
I don't like it because when you were talking about the schools, like I went from like the inner city to the suburbs, and especially in the inner city, they have NYPD as school safety officers, and they'll throw hands on you if you don't act right. But the suburbs, they got their nice blazers on, their nice walkie-talkie, everything is crisp, and they have like no fear.
And for me, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They only want they only want one group to comply.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask, kid, you ever watch Fargo?
I saw a couple episodes. Yeah.
Did you see the last one? The last one, the fourth season with Chris Rock?
No, I haven't started watching it yet.
There's a scene, because Fargo, they say is all based on true stories.
Right.
So there's a scene in Fargo where the blacks and the Italians are now they getting into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what the Italians do is they call the cops to arrest the black gangsters at like their party spot or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mob boss goes to the police station and the cops let him talk to them while they in their cell.
Damn. Yup, that sounds like real life. You're right. Because they tell you whoever goes to the police station first, that's who they're gonna believe.
No. But mind you,
mm-hmm.
it's this Fargo season 4 is set like in the 50s.
Right.
The cops know this is a mob boss because he pays them.
Correct.
So he tells the black gangsters in the jail, he says, in America, this is the land where you can take what you want,
Mm-hmm.
but not you.
Yeah.
Is it see, he said something to the effect, we commit crime because we're trying to make money, because that's how we're looked at, because we don't look, basically because we don't look like you. But you,
Right.
when you commit crime to make money, it's because you're just bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I can do what you can't do.
Right.
So this is the part of the compliance where I was cracking up when I saw it, because in my mind I'm like, that's why compliance is a problem.
Yeah.
Because you people, everybody else can break any law, rule, regulation.
Mm-hmm. And then as
And
soon as
that,
we do it, it's a problem.
so I'm like, what do you want us to comply with then?
Well, they're trying to hide us. That's all it is. They want to minimize our impact. Because notice, everything that we do, everybody then does it. And then either, depending on how the wind blows, they might accept it, or they'll say, nah, you can't do that no more. And then they come back and demonize us for it. Be like, we didn't tell you to do that.
I spent like this weekend I was watching movies. So I watched the American Skin right before I started up doing videos.
Mm-hmm.
I finished watching. Prior to that, I watched the Netflix one with Outside the Wire, with
Right.
Anthony Mackie and old boy that plays Franklin Saint on Snowfall.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, I watched the one with One Night in Miami on Amazon with Jim Brown, Jim Brown, all that.
Yeah.
No, Malcolm. Yeah, I'm tripping. Yeah, and
Yeah,
Sam Cooke.
Yeah.
And the funniest part of that was, did you see the one on Netflix?
Yeah, I watched one night. I'm gonna watch American Skin and do a review on it tomorrow.
Okay. The one on Netflix is probably the most. I think American Skin is probably the best movie out of them.
Right.
It has the best storyline.
Right.
Let's put it like that. The One Night in Miami, it has the best historical impact because it's on a quote unquote true story.
Correct.
But the one on Netflix, they say some things in that one that goes over people's head.
Mm-hmm.
Because Anthony Mack is supposed to be a cyborg.
Right.
So he asked the guy, he said, do you know why I look like this? He's like, neutrality.
Yep.
So they made a black cyborg and put him in the middle of a war because black people are looked at as neutral.
Right.
We
don't pick no sides. We just let everybody kill themselves, and then we just like, see.
So he was the weapon because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And the irony is, people wouldn't come. Like if he asked somebody to do something, they kind of listen, but they kind of don't.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? He making some sense, but wait, it comes from a black guy. Never mind.
But the crazy part,
I am interested in seeing this this documentary coming out with MLK and the FBI and see how much they lie in that.
I mean, that's going.
I want to see. I mean, they are talking about the COINTELPRO report, but I want to see how much they're going to omit.
That's what, like, you know what? Speaking of that, and even with the topic, that's why I can't wait to see the Fred Hampton movie.
Yes. Yes.
Because they keep thinking that, like, I'm glad it tells the story of they think guys are sold other guys out for money. No, they busted guys and they put the jail, so they sold them out for time.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't, and I might be wrong, but I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of a white story, a Hispanic story, or Asian story in America, or a Middle Eastern story in America,
mm-hmm.
where they told somebody, "Hey, we're gonna put you in jail, or you can get involved with this to take it down"?
There was a movie that they did do. I forgot the name of it.
With who?
I want to say, oh Jesus Christ. Damn it.
Because I know, in my opinion, shot caller is the closest thing they got, but that was an inside job.
So yeah, I think there was another one. I gotta go look it up on IMDb when I get off. I'll probably write it in the comment section if I find it.
Okay.
I know they took the dude out of jail to like take down somebody, and then I think they kind of found out and they left him high and dry. Something like that. I gotta look it up. But usually them stories, those are our stories.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. That's the
American
thing.
Gangster, Nicky Barnes, the documentary they did on Nicky Barnes.
See, they need to do it. If anybody, I don't really like them like that. But if you take the time and you watch The Mule, and that's that movie with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
It's a reason. This is why it's kind of part of the topic is compliance, because the reason he was able to be such a good mule is because he was white. Nobody would pull him over.
Right. Yeah, that pulling over. Like when I get pulled over, I take. They give you like that minute or two before they show up. I just take everything out, put it right there on the dashboard. I don't play, bro, because I had a lot of old cars, and you know how they like to pull over black guys in old cars.
Old cars.
What? I was like, you know what? Nope. Put it right there. They like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, how are you? They're like, you have your license, everything, right there on the dash. Have my hands at 10 and 2.
See that? Like my dad was a CO. So one of the things my dad told me, he said, these guys, they want you to follow the rules. And when you follow the rules, if they keep messing with you, see, they know there's certain inmates and certain quote unquote criminals and certain men that's like, look, I done followed your rules and you still went left.
Yeah, they want you to buck. So
yeah,
that on the outside. But they start asking all these dumb questions, and I'm like, okay.
But the problem is, there are certain people that they know if I keep messing with this person, it's gonna go all bad. Because there are certain people who don't care. Because once you ask them to do something, they do it, and you pick a fight with them after that, all bets off.
Right.
And that's what they're trying to stamp out. But it's like you can't stamp out violence by picking fights.
Right. We just add into it, and then everybody else around that's looking at it, I'm like, damn, so you a dick, man. I'm just gonna mess with you now.
And they don't get it. But you know what? I'm gonna cut it down here, fam. I appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. I've been here almost an hour.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, take care, yo.
Take care of yourself too, fam. Peace.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank y'all for coming. God bless and good night. I'm gonna get up out of here. Peace. Well, I'm gonna try to say peace twice because I gotta end the broadcast.